Hello again, this is Victor James, author of The Megacosm, and there's a guilty pleasure movie that I like that actually is really rather prescient in today's political climate, and that's Prayer of the Rollerboys. Starring the late Corey Haim and a very pretty Patricia Arquette paying her dues, I'm guessing if Prayer of the Rollerboys was made in 2026, it actually would be a controversial hit, and let me explain why. Prayer of the Rollerboys is set in the future, so probably our present, and America is in really bad shape. Colleges like Harvard have moved brick by brick to Japan, crime is rampant in the streets, America has been overrun by foreigners and illegal immigrants and produces nothing as factory and jobs have been sent overseas. It has gotten so bad that undocumented Americans are being rounded up in Mexico and sent back to the United States.
Americans working illegally in Mexico have been returned to San Diego by the thousands as the Mexican government cracked down on undocumented workers in Veracruz.
People are so forlorn that many stay high on a new drug called Mist. Does any of this sound familiar to you? So in comes the Rollerboys. Gary Lee is the blonde-haired, blue-eyed leader of the Rollerboys, who has a message of reclamation that resonates with America's youth. Well, most of America's youth anyway. You see, Gary Lee advocates for a white future without the lure of races that have ruined society, so he's basically a Nick Fuentes who actually likes girls. Corey Haim plays a rollerblader named Griffin, who works a very dangerous job of delivering pizzas at night to provide for him and his little brother Milty, along with the man they share a lot with named Speedbagger. And I'm not kidding, his job is extremely dangerous. Griffin rides around the filthy streets of LA, another thing the movie got right, in a reinforced van while his little brother navigates. On one fateful night, Griffin finds a house on fire and drives his van inside to save a roller boy named Bullwinkle, who was not very grateful and hates Griffin on the spot for no reason. It so happens that Griffin was a boyhood pal of Gary Lee, and when Gary Lee finds out what he did for Bullwinkle, he pays Griffin and Milty a visit. Gary Lee has a nostalgic soft spot for Griffin and wants him to join the Rollerboys. Griffin of course declines because, they're racist and he had a friendship with Speedbagger. But Milty is far more impressed with the Rollerboys, and you can see their influence begin to seep into his impressionable brain. The cops are interested in Gary Lee because he's not the usual gang leader. Gary Lee is buying up America. Factories, storehouses, power companies, anything people no longer deem valuable. And the Rollerboys are the group supplying the mist to the streets. Not to mention, Gary Lee is also making international connections. With their message of reclaiming and restoring America resonating with America's youth, the Rollerboys become folk heroes to the kids on the streets. Eventually, the police see Griffin as a way to infiltrate the Rollerboys, and they use Patricia Arquette, who has been working the streets pretending to be a misted out rollerboy groupie, to be his contact. Griffin is reluctant to help the cops at first until he starts to lose Milty to their influence. And yes, I know Rollerboys can be a bit cheesy. An international gang that runs around together on rollerblades and gets into turf wars with a minority group called the B-13ers, but it does tackle strong issues that still resonate over 30 years later. There's currently people fighting and dying and rioting in the streets over the same issue of illegal immigration. We see crime-infested cities as the legal system seems to be a revolving door that doesn't want to hurt the criminals' feelings instead of locking them up. And we also see charismatic leaders become more popular as they fill that void of disappointment for young people for the world that they inherited. I mentioned this in my last video, but it seems Hollywood writers like to give the antagonist to a movie that racist label when they have a point that resonates with people. Much of what Gary Lee says and advocates for actually makes sense. Why is it bad that Gary Lee wants jobs back in America? Why is it bad that he wants people to come here legally and do it the right way? Or he wants affordable higher education? And is it bad that he sees crime-ridden streets and wants to clean them up? Both Gary Lee and Griffin lost their parents to crime, so it's personal for them. It's like the writers at the end of the day were like, hey, some of what this guy says makes sense, so let's make him a racist, just so you won't agree with what Gary Lee is saying. But there's an aspect to Gary Lee's plan that does actually make him a true villain. Throughout the movie, the Rollerboys are constantly talking about the day of the rope. When Griffin does eventually join the group, they have a rally at the beach and Gary Lee gives a stirring sermon that leaves his Rollerboys chanting for the day of the rope. It was implied that the day of the rope was a mythical day when the Rollerboys would hang all their enemies, but the reality is actually far more insidious. Gary Lee has a strict policy that no Rollerboys are to take the drug Mist. He even disciplines Milty when he finds out he missed it twice. And the reason for this is that Gary Lee has spiked the drug so that frequent users become sterile. The Rollerboys sell the drugs to wretched and the undesirable so that in a generation, they won't procreate and only the clean will rule. Wow. This is 4D chess right there. Dude is playing the long game with that plan. It's diabolical and genius at the same time. And he's not even killing the misusers. And people are taking the drugs of their own free will. Now the Christian in me finds this very wrong, but the flawed man inside is like... Anyway, Prayer of the Rollerboys is a movie I always pop in every so often. It's cheesy, but the story's still relevant, and probably will remain so the way things are going. But you tell me, have you seen Prayer of the Rollerboys? Do you like it or is it just too cheesy? And what do you think about the Hollywood writer racism theory? Do you think they slapped this label on antagonists who actually have a point? The good thing is that you can make up your own mind, because Prayer of the Rollerboys is free on YouTube right now. Give it a watch and then come back and leave me a comment. And also want to remind you about my first book, In the Megacosm Fiasco Adventures, that's available on Amazon. This is the first book in the Megacosm that kind of gives you the groundwork of what the Megacosm is all about. It's not a must-read before my second book, The Remarkable, comes out in a few months, but there are some characters that cross over. And I also want to remind you about my novelette, The Mark, which is available on Amazon for 99 cents. This book is actually selling very well these days. People are really enjoying it, so I'd go ahead and give this a pickup too. I mean, it's only 99 cents. And just one last reminder that my website, themegacosm.com, is available for you to read short stories for free, and you can actually go and read my Megacosm thoughts, and actually have a gallery for my characters, and I have links to my videos and some other articles that you probably haven't read that you don't know that since I write for bleedingfool.com. But that's all I want to say about this. God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.